Morning, Professor. This is Marquise Baker. For my final project, I'll be going over two motor learning concepts, and those two will be Bernstein's theory of freezing the degrees of freedom, and the second one is going to be reinforcement and motivation. For Bernstein's freezing the degrees of freedom, I do have a basketball because I will be demonstrating how to shoot a free throw. For that, it's I believe, as well as using Bernstein's theory as a reference. When learning new skills, it's easier to control movements if we start by limiting or freezing certain joints. As we improve with these, releasing those joints one at a time, we make the motion more fluid and more powerful. So with that, we're going to start with the freezing movement, and that's going to be shooting the basketball, right? We're not even going to use the lower half of our body yet. Gonna have stiff knees. I don't know if you can see my knees. We're gonna keep it simple. We don't bend your knees or your ankles at first. We're just focusing on shooting the arm, bending the elbow, and shooting. So actually, let me get down a little bit. So bending the arm and shoot. And when we shoot, we're gonna straight up and release, and we'll get to the wrist part at the very end. So after that, we're gonna stage 2 is gonna be adding knees. And now it's time to release the knees. So before we shoot our free throw now, instead of just standing stiff legged, we're going to bend our knees, right? And we're going to help push the ball upward while bending our knees. So take a dribble. In that motion, we're going to come up, go again. Then the next step is going to be adding ankles. This time we're going to let our heels lift us naturally as we shoot. And this will help transfer energy all the way down, all the way through our shot. So this time, it'll look a little different. So again, knees are bent. No, my knees are like that. Some people take a bigger squat. You don't have to, but my personal opinion. Bend your knees. Come up. Elbows in place. Lift. Shoot. And then the final stage is going to be adding the wrists and the fingers. So when you add a snap of the wrist and the follow through with your fingers pointing at the rim, that spin gives you control. So it'll be easier to see it this way, like this. So have our balance from our body. Our eyes are on the basket. Our elbow. Straight forward. Up and down. We're going to... That's it. And follow through with our wrist and our fingers. So that is freezing the degrees of freedom using Bernstein's theory with shooting a basketball as a free throw. Shooting a free throw as an example. The next one, motor concept that I'll be going over is reinforcement and motivation. For this example, I decided to use a 12 and under football team just because I remember my time as a player in that football time period, and let's just say it was fun. I had a great time. Just I understand now, looking back on it, how like motivation and stuff like that definitely goes into play and like things of that nature. So first, we're going to go over internal versus external reinforcers. So internal, as it states, is internal. It's something that an athlete or player feels. So if they are happy that they got a first down, or if they're proud that they made a catch, those are internal reinforcers that they feel on their own. External, of course, would be outwardly, outer body. So external is something that, as a coach, I mean, even parents, right? As a parent of an athlete, you can provide to your kids. So, giving them high fives, daps, of course, praises, screams. I know in Florida, every time you make a wide open catch, they say blue. So things like that. And then going back into the younger age group for football would be more playing opportunity. And I say that because I remember like we had a rotation with football, for everyone to get a turn, so no one's just riding the bench, right? Just 12. It's city football league. No, coaches want to win, so you put your best out there, but you also have a rotation in where people can actually get better and hone their skills throughout the game, not just in practice. Next is going to be process and task-oriented goals. So I like to say this is winning in the practice. I mean, you also imply this in game, but before the game, you're winning in practice. So I played offense and defensive line. A good example for me was like staying low in my stance, because sometimes I didn't, right? I got too high, and if I'm on the opposite side, I'm getting taken for a ride, right? They have that leverage and that momentum just to swing me around. So staying in my stance throughout the snap, not jumping, not jumping off sides, not getting confused with all the claps and whatnot from the offensive line. As a running back, making sure that you're securing the ball when you're running through both hands. Same for like a wide receiver. You can make your catch. I mean, nowadays kids are making catches like OBJ, Jefferson, but after you make the catch, come through and collect the ball and secure it with both hands after the catch. These give kids something more so to focus on while in practice. I mean, also throughout the game, right, to improve on their skills. But this is something that they can be like, all right, I need to do. It's a task, so they're like, all right, I need to do this, and this will be not only help me with my personal skills, but also help the team. So it's not, it's not, as a lineman, you're rarely scoring a touchdown, right? It's not as a team, it's better, right? But it's not like winning a game. So it's just something for them to celebrate success, even if it's not them scoring. And then negative reinforcement versus punishment. So I'm pretty sure to this day coaches still use cardio drills as punishment for football players. I remember, we did things incorrectly. We weren't getting it right. There was too many mistakes. It would just add on to the running that we had at the end of practice. So whether that be running laps around the field, my worst and I hated was bear crawling up the field, duck walking up and back down the field, and doing sprints back side to side. So it definitely frustrated us as players, and it didn't really motivate us though. It really, like you want to get through it, like coaches like encourage you to get through it, but at the end you're looking back, you're like, man, like why did I do this? Like why? So instead of punishment, you use negative reinforcement instead. So if we are already going to do cardio, and that's implied, right, beginner practice, like, hey guys, no matter what, like we're doing laps around the field, right? We got to get in condition. So it's like, all right, cool. But instead of saying, hey, if you mess up throughout practice, if there's too many fumbles, if there's too many drop balls, this, that, and the third, you're not staying in your stance, that we're going to add more, reverse that, and use it as, hey, if there isn't, right, we're staying in our stance, we're staying low, no one's fumbling the ball, we can shorten the conditioning drills that we're going to do. Which, to me, now looking back on it, I was like, I wish we would have did it that way. Because, that makes sense. Like, if we're going to do it anyway, might as well make it seem like more so of a reward if we, aren't making mistakes, rather than making someone feel like they're fearful. Like, if I don't do this right, we're going to run more and more because of me. Like, no, it's not the case. So those are my two motor learning concepts that I chose to do for this final project. Thank you, and I hope you have a great week.